to our Zoom candidate forum for Columbia School Board and for information about the school bond ballot issue. I am Barbara Hoppe and I will be the moderator tonight. Dr. Stiepelman is here and will be talking about the bond issue towards the end of the forum. The election will be held on June 2nd. The deadline to request an absentee ballot is 5 p.m. on May 20th. We've been told that if your reason for requesting an absentee ballot is because of concern about illness and COVID-19, you will not need to have a notary sign your ballot before you mail it in. The school board has 7 members. The board members are volunteers. They receive no pay or other financial incentives. The Columbia Public Schools has over 18,500 students with 4 high schools, 6 middle schools, 21 elementary schools, and a career center. Tonight, we have 4 candidates for 3 seats on the school board. The candidates are Jonathan Sessions, Chris Horn, Helen Wade, and David Simon. The school board candidates will each have 2 minutes for an opening statement and will speak in ballot order. Then I will ask 5 questions and each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to answer each question. Following the questions, the candidates will present 1-minute closing statements. And when you come to the end of your time, I will hold up the 10-second card. And then when you are at the end of your time, I will hold up the stop card. With that, Jonathan Sessions, you may present your opening statement.
Hi. Thank you everybody for joining us in what is now, after 10 years, the most awkward candidate forum that I have ever participated in. So I appreciate everyone joining us. My background is I was born and raised here in Boone County in Columbia, Missouri. I spent my entire K-12 career in the Columbia Public Schools. I went to Russell West and then Hickman, Smithton for a little bit in there. It was being opened. After I graduated from Hickman High School, I went to the University of Missouri Columbia, where I earned a degree in education. I didn't end up going into the classroom. I started a company to help pay the bills, help pay for that degree when I was at Mizzou, and it grew, and it grew to the business that I still have today. But it drew me away from the classroom, so I exited. I walked across the stage at Mizzou and ended up walking across town and actually signing a lease on my first office for my small business. So. That business is technology consultation. So like I said, a few years later, I ended up running for the Board of Education at 26. I've now been on the Board of Education for 10 years. Over the course of, this is my 5th election. I'm an active member of the community, involved in lots of different community organizations, whether that's Chamber of Commerce, youth programs, STEM initiatives, run some STEM summer camps, things like that. But I want to run because I'm committed to public education. I'm committed to Columbia Public Schools. It's the schools they're the schools that made me who I am today. And so I'd ask for your vote on June 2nd.
Thank you. And now we will hear from Chris Horn. You may make your opening statement.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you everybody watching right now, and thank you everybody that will watch later. I also want to take this opportunity to give a big praise to all of our teachers, all of our parents, all of our CPS administrators, all of our staff, our local businesses and organizations that just stepped up to the plate and helped us kind of get through this semester. I know we've got a few more days, but get through this semester. Specifically, our teachers who had to find a new way to teach, our parents, our guardians, our relatives who became teachers, our administrators who had to guide us and lead us through this, and particularly when they recognized that the circumstances were causing further hardships on our community and our students, they had to make a difficult decision to pivot. And I just want to praise also our local organizations and our businesses that stepped up to the plate to deliver meals, extended Wi-Fi networks, just kind of picked up and helped out. There's a lot of good things that have happened through this COVID-19, and the fact that our community stepped up and helped out when needed, I think is just fantastic. So thank you to everybody for that. I'm running for school board simply put because I want to serve. I want to serve our community. I want to serve our school district. I participated in Leadership Columbia last year, and throughout that process, I learned a lot about Columbia. I learned a lot about myself, more importantly. My two favorite days were Education Day, Leadership Day. That's where I learned more about our school district. Just like I said, learn more about myself. And so once I knew better, I just wanted to do better. And so that's why I'm here today, speaking to you all. That's why I'm running for this opportunity. I want to do the hard work necessary to see our school district continue to be as good as it can be and better. I believe that our community goes as our school district goes, and this is a great opportunity to serve all of our students and all of our community. And I too ask for your vote on June 2nd.
Thank you very much. Helen Wade, you may present your opening statement.
Thank you very much, Barbara. I am really pleased to be here. I feel like I'm spending an inordinate amount of my time on Zoom lately, but I appreciate the forum proceeding, at least in this format. I think it's a wonderful opportunity to connect one more time with the voters before our election comes in June. Certainly, we all recognize how uncertain these times are and how different things are than what we may have imagined them to be just a few months ago. But like Chris, I have been forever impressed with the way in which our teachers, our families, our community members have responded to this crisis to support our students and to support their learning, even when it's in a completely different format than we ever thought possible. This is partly why I'd like to have the opportunity to serve Columbia for one more term. I've been on the board for 9 years, and over those 9 years, I have learned more about our community, about our kids, and about the significant role that Columbia Public Schools plays in the lives of not just the parents, not just the kids, but our entire community. The success of our public schools really means the success of our community. It's our backbone. It's what makes us successful. And these times, the ones that we find ourselves in now, where Columbia Public Schools isn't open, tells us how significant and how important this entity is to everybody in our community. Columbia Public Schools has a history of being good stewards of the taxpayers' money. I think we need to continue that, and I'd like an opportunity to continue the tradition of excellence that has been in place for the last 9 years, certainly while I've been on the board. We have to make some tough decisions because these are really, really uncertain economic times, and strong leadership in these economic times is essential. Columbia Public Schools is meaningful to me, as are all of you who are listening now and will listen later. And I would ask, please, for your vote on June 2nd.
Thank you. And now, David, Simone, your opening statement.
Barbara, I also want to thank the League of Women Voters for putting on this forum. I'm excited to be talking to folks about something other than bedtime and bath time. I've been doing it for the last 3 weeks. I work in my house with the kids. I am running for school board because I want all of our students to have the same education opportunities that I have. My family moved to Columbia in 2003. I graduated from Rockbridge in 2007. Met my wife there. Today is actually our 8th wedding anniversary. Yeah, so
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. The year before my senior year of high school, I lost my father to cancer. And a few months later, I found out that I myself was going to be a father during my senior year of high school. Going through that process taught me how to adapt, taught me how to overcome a lot of obstacles. I wouldn't be sitting here on this forum in front of the computer talking to you as a candidate without the teachers and counselors at Rockbridge. They helped me get through all of it. So left Rockbridge, went on to Columbia College, graduated, and then I jumped into the organized chaos that is the U.S. military. I joined the Marine Corps as an officer. Once again, that adaptability piece came into play. Learned a lot of things very quickly, or that you're going to succeed or fail. It was time to get out of the military. My wife and I decided to bring our family back to Columbia. Home. My adopted home. Originally from Columbia, South Carolina, but Columbia, Missouri is where my wife's from, where my kids were born, and this is where we decided to plant our roots. So, like I said before, I'm running to ensure that those students who are going to be coming through Rockbridge in the next few years and the next couple of generations, make sure they have the same opportunities that I had.
Thank you. We will now have questions for the candidates, and we will alternate who gets the question first. So the first question will be to Jonathan Sessions, and then the order will be, well, we'll switch the order each question. But it will be the same question for everyone. And if you want me to repeat the question, just let me know that when it's your turn. So what unique and important abilities and experiences do you bring, would you bring to the board if you're elected?
Well, there's quite a bit. I like to think that I have quite a bit in my toolbox. They're all the things that I brought to the board when I got started on the Board of Education. That's being a technologist, a consultant, someone who has to juggle a lot simultaneously, dozens upon dozens of clients within a day, and at the same time focusing on what's new, what the future is, and the constant never-ending improvement and constant learning and improving myself, making sure I'm up on the latest thing. So that, with the expertise and the skills that I got through the University of Missouri as an educator, every day I use that degree. I may not be using it in a classroom, but I use that as that skill that I worked on to help me educate my clients and members of the community on what it is we're doing and communicate what it is we're doing. One of the unique things that I have is being right now, surprisingly, and when I was running at 27, I didn't quite ever expect in 10 years to be saying that I'm currently the longest serving member of the Board of Education. So I bring a lot of institutional knowledge to the board. I mean, there's a lot of the gray hairs and those kinds of things coming in, but I do want to continue to serve for the next 3 years and keep that institutional knowledge on the Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Horn, if you could answer the question.
Thank you, Barbara. For me, first and foremost, I think, my Christian faith is my foundation and my compass. And so just from jump, I work really hard to value everybody. And then, when I make a mistake, I'm very accountable for those mistakes. And so I think there's a little humility there. And I think that's what we all need, especially when we're working in public service. And because of that, I value and respect the opinions of others, particularly those who are close to issues and solutions, and particularly those who are different than mine. I think when we are trying to run such a large public entity that is Columbia Public Schools, inherently we're going to have diverse thoughts, diverse opinions, just diverse everything. And so I think it's just important to value the opinions of everybody, all stakeholders, students, parents, educators, everybody. And so another thing is teamwork. I participated in athletics all my life, up to and including at the University of Missouri, where I ran track. And one of the biggest lessons that I learned through those experiences is that, team is above individual. And that seems counterintuitive to a track and field athlete, but you know, your individual contributions should be for the benefit of the team, not yourself. And so I bring that. And then last and not least, but I'm an efficient learner. There's going to be a lot to learn as a new candidate, a new board member. And so in career and in everything that I've done, I've been able to apply my learning efficiently.
Thank you very much. And Helen Wade now.
Thank you very much. So my perspective on the board has been significantly influenced by my professional background. Many of you know, my practice is in family law. It's more or less an exclusive practice. And in this particular discipline, I think every attorney is required to really take a step back and to examine perspectives and issues from every vantage point. I've learned both personally and professionally, it's very easy to be dogmatic and to close your eyes and be married to one particular answer or one particular concept. It's much, much harder to find common ground and a way to forge a way forward together. As a member of the Columbia Public Schools Board of Education, we've had and will continue to have many issues for which people are very passionate, and finding a way to to take the time and to examine an issue from the perspective of others, I think is a very valuable lesson that I've learned and something that I put into practice every day in the context of my professional life. Personally, I am the product of many, many places. I've lived all over the United States and around the globe, and I moved every single year for all of my elementary, middle, and high school education. I am a product of both public school and private school. And I can tell you, for me, the consistency that school brought in the year I may have been there was very important to me. So both personally and professionally, Columbia Public Schools is something that's very important and ingrained in my life.
Thank you very much. And now David Simon.
I'll start by saying I've got experience seeing how different school districts are run. So I attended schools in Columbia, South Carolina, Atlanta, Colorado Springs, and then CPS. So being in those diverse settings, you get to see the good and the bad, and you tend to bring those things with you. Other abilities, leadership under pressure. Marine Corps teaches you very quickly how to make decisions and how to listen to other people. And also, when you have an idea and you are so invested in it and you take it up somewhere and it is torn down completely, you have to go rebuild it. Those are the type of leadership qualities that you have to have. And just the ability to adapt. I think in this environment where we're not entirely sure what's going to happen tomorrow, or let alone come September 1st, the ability to adapt and revise a plan and then follow through is something that we're all going to have. This isn't going to be a light switch as we back into the school. It's going to be a dial. There are going to be setbacks. We're going to have to persevere together. In order to do that, we're going to have to be able to listen.
Thank you. And we'll go to the second question, and we'll start with Chris Horn this time. And the question is, because of the COVID-19 health crisis, CPS has gone online. How successful has this been for the students, especially in low-income homes and for special needs students?
Thank you, Barbara, for that question. I made mention of it earlier in the intro. I think that once CPS made the decision, ultimately the great decision, I mean, everybody did it, but to go to a virtual learning environment, it was brand new for everybody. And so they came in with a plan, and then they immediately recognized that COVID-19 did a good job of further highlighting the disparities that were already present in our school district. Our underrepresented groups who are already struggling for many, many reasons. And it's something that the board, our district, our community are working hard to try to figure out. So, you know, was it a success? In my mind, I believe so, because they recognize that if they were trying to continue to do learning as usual, only virtually, it would only further put behind those that unfortunately were already struggling. And so I think that the fact that CPS came through this process with the child well-being and welfare in mind, making sure that those that needed meals were served meals, was great. I think making once they recognized that those individuals that weren't going to be able to learn at the same equitably with their peers, so they had to pivot, I think that was great. So in that regard, I think it was a success.
Thank you. Then next is Helen Wade.
Thank you. So in terms of the success or lack thereof, it's been very, very difficult, I think. And I think Columbia Public Schools did an excellent job of attempting to preserve a learning environment when the virtual environment was first unveiled or implemented. It very quickly kind of turned into a stress test, and it revealed the disparity in a very significant way. We were able to see very quickly that the initial plan was not going to be one that was equitable, and Columbia Public Schools did change the approach as soon as that became apparent. It has been very difficult to respond to this circumstance in real time and to provide real solutions to every family, regardless of where they are and what educational environment may be present in each child's home. Regardless of the degree of attempt that was made, we weren't successful in evening that playing field and ensuring that every student has equitable access to the same education in a virtual world. I think that our ability to move from our initial plan and do something different was commendable. And I think that our approach to the upcoming weeks and months and the manner in which we can educate our students, notwithstanding the presence of a global epidemic, is forward thinking, because we're recognizing our shortcomings and attempting to fix them.
Thank you very much. And then David Simone.
I agree with both Chris and Helen with the amount of time and resources that we had as this virus spread. I think we were fairly successful. There's not much more you could ask for with that limited amount of time. In hindsight, there are a lot of things that we could have done, but that's hindsight. What it has exposed, as Chris said, is the lack of internet access in low-income areas. A lot of our students don't have access to Wi-Fi. They don't have access to a computer, so they can't hop on Zoom or Squality. So expose that, and it's further raised the idea that somewhere down the line, this isn't something that CPS or any school board can do, but somewhere down the line, we're going to have a conversation about whether or not, as a nation, whether or not we are going to make internet access a basic human right and a utility. Like I said, that's not something that the school board can. Moving forward, we are going to face a number of challenges over the next months and years, posing that now widened gap between students who were able to access this information and students who didn't have access. So that'll be the challenge that we have to face moving forward.
Thank you very much. And now we'll hear from Jonathan Sessions.
So in our office, we always joke, proper pre-planning prevents poor performance. And we did not have a lot of opportunity for pre-planning for a pandemic. But what our district does regularly is we pull together our incident command team, and we go through scenarios of crises, whether that's tornado or other crises, simulate other environments that may have happened, or other situations that may have significantly impacted other school districts, and make sure that we're we're not necessarily prepared for the specific incident, but we're prepared to work together, and we have a structure and a chain of command so that we know how to take the first step, and then how do we all communicate together, and then how do we take the next one, and then how do we keep going. And then if we take a misstep, we say, hey, pause, let's regroup, let's figure out what's not working, and then move forward again. And it's that proper planning is about planning for the teamwork. And our district showed, our admin team, our incident command team showed that they are ready for that. And so they did the best they can, as prepared as they could be. But I think everybody said it many times over. There are one of the things that we've learned is a lot about the inequities within our district. People say they have internet, but then there's a question of, is that Zoom quality internet? And other situations like that. So it's all about responding to the crisis and making sure you have a team structure to support students. And I think we've done the best we can.
Thank you. I'll move on to question 3, and we'll start this time with Helen Wade, and then David, then Jonathan, then Chris. So question 3 is, again, COVID related. Because of the ongoing and uncertain nature of the COVID-19 health crisis, the Columbia Public Schools will need to make adjustments and changes to how students are taught for the foreseeable future. What changes are being considered, and how will teachers and also parents be involved in making those decisions?
That's a very good question. The Missouri School Boards Association put out, I think it was a 97-page publication detailing some of the considerations that might be employed by school districts going forwards. This publication has gained some traction nationwide and is being used a bit as a guideline, if you will, that is available online. It is certainly a guideline that's being reviewed by the Columbia Public Schools Administration and Cabinet in making decisions about how to proceed forward effectively. In short, though, everything is on the table. I can't predict what's going to happen tomorrow, let alone what's going to happen in the fall. I don't know what the guidelines will be that are in place at that point in time. I don't know if we'll be able to go back to school as normal, or if we'll be in a partial online environment, if we'll be in a rotation, or if we'll be completely online. And the uncertainty means that it is incumbent upon Columbia Public Schools to consider the way in which we can successfully deliver education to every student, regardless of what their needs may be, regardless of what their circumstances may be at home, in an effective and consistent manner. So we are currently looking into every possible avenue of the delivery of a first-class education. In terms of the participation of families, we're regularly communicating with families. I'm personally seeking as much input as I possibly can from all citizens in terms of their ideas and their thoughts on what might work. But the ultimate result is going to be driven by the reality that we're looking at the time that it becomes school time in the fall.
Thank you. And now we'll hear from David Simon.
So Helen is correct. I think every option is on the table at this point. We are going to have to not only consult parents, but we'll be in consultation with city and county officials, including the health department. I think that's where this is going to have to start. What does the health department say is happening? What does the health department say? When do they think that we can actually go back to school? Do we have a vaccine? I'm going to tell you, I have 2 school-age children at home, and I would love nothing more than to be able to send them off to school so they can annoy someone else for a while. But their health, their peers' health, and their educators' health is too important at this point. So the starting process is going to be, the health department say we can send these kids back to school. If not, then now we're going to have to go into option 2. And if that is some type of internet-based learning, then once again, we go back to that equity question. How do we figure out how to ensure that the kids who do not have internet access, or like Jonathan said, have poor Wi-Fi access, how to ensure that they have access to this information. It's going to be a process. School starts sometime in September, early September. So realistically, we have about 75 days to figure it out, but confident that we will.
Thank you very much. And now we'll hear from Jonathan Sessions.
I'm not sure if it came from her, but I think I first heard it from Stephanie Browning. It's not going to be a switch, it's a dial. And because we know it's going to be a dial, and we know it's going to be a dial because our administration, board members, and our incident command team are meeting with the health department. Well, for a while we were meeting daily via a phone call, and now we're meeting at least once a week, if not a couple times a week. So we're making sure that our first priority is kids are safe, families are safe, teachers and staff are safe. That's goal one. As for what it's going to look like, probably, and we talked about this in the board meeting on Monday, somewhere along that spectrum of three, either A, traditional, then on down the line, B, some sort of hybrid of traditional and remote learning, and then C, it would be some sort of full remote learning. And do we know what that's going to look like yet? No, because I think the one thing that we can all count on right now is that the landscape is ever changing. So the other important part of this is that we've now set the last day of school, and there are going to be 5 days after that are going to be teacher work days. And we're going to make sure that those 5 days are dedicated to professional development. Because the one thing that I know I didn't get as an educator, going to Mizzou to be a future educator, and that pretty much all of our educators didn't get, was how to do remote learning. So everybody's been kind of thrown into this, and we want to make sure that our teachers have the support structure and the education and the professional development that they need if we do need to go more on the remote learning side and less on the traditional side.
Thank you very much. We'll go to question 4, and this time we'll start with David Seaman and then Jonathan Sessions.
I think you missed Chris.
Oh, Chris, did I miss you, Chris? Oh,
I would love to
I
answer.
checked you. I'm sorry in
I really
advance. Thanks.
No worries.
Okay, I am sorry.
No
Yes,
worries.
let's hear from Chris on that on the question.
You know, the things that we have in our favor are this. We got to practice it with this semester. So we went into this with the safety and the well-being of our students first. And that's something that we certainly should do when we go back to school. But we have the benefit of hindsight. We have the benefit of seeing what worked and what didn't work. And we also have the benefit of understanding that as whatever decisions that we make, we have to make it through a lens of equity. I think that the document that the Missouri State Board Association presented is a good guide, but I also think that we've got enough committed members in our community, enough committed teachers, enough committed parents right here in Columbia that can add valuable insight into what this looks like going forward. So, you know, like everybody said, and we all know the landscape of what this COVID-19, this pandemic is going to be in a few months, we're not sure. But what we do know is we have a little bit of time to practice, and we should make use of that time by really tapping into our teachers, tapping into our parents, tapping into our stakeholders, our community, our businesses, everybody, and garnering ideas to see what this looks like going forward. And you know, like they said, everything's on the table, everything from, I won't repeat what everybody said, but I just want to make sure that when we do that, we're inviting everybody to the table and making sure we take advantage of all the resources that we have right here in Columbia.
Great. Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to the 4th question, and we'll start with David Seaman, and then Jonathan Sessions, then Chris Horn, and then Helen Wade. And the question is, what is your position on the school bond ballot issue? And with the economic stresses facing the state, How will Columbia School District adjust?
Can everybody hear me? I've kind of been told by a few people that my mic is kind of cutting in and out.
You sound
Perfect.
good now, yeah.
Okay, I just had to
It's a
move
lot
a little
better.
closer. Okay, perfect. So I support the bond issue. I know a few folks are upset that they feel as though money may be wasted on turf. I can tell you that I played on turf at Rockbridge. The first year was put in. There's a reason that we have turf and not fields. There are lower body injuries that occur when you are running around on grass all the time, especially with female athletes. We see that in sports like the WNBA. We saw it in the Marine Corps when we opened up infantry positions for females. Those lower body injuries are a killer. So placing that turf there is a safety issue. It's not just an aesthetic thing. With COVID decimating the economy, we're going to face some budgetary cuts. I have to say that I am encouraged listening to Chief Financial Officer MacArthur that CPS seems to be in a good spot financially, not hurting, not going to be, as she said, I believe she said this is a dire situation, but it's not a crisis yet. So I am encouraged that our financials are strong at this point and forward to see how this is actually going to affect us in the long run.
Thank you very much. Now we'll hear from Jonathan Sessions.
Yes, resounding yes. This is actually kind of feels like the tail end of a plan that I was a part of making when I first got on the board. I was chair of long range facilities planning committee, and it was the first time we had ever sat down 10 years ago and said, how much space do we actually have? How much space do we actually need to get out of trailers and keep up with the growth in a community where people want to live? And then what's it going to cost? And we put together a plan, and we asked our community back in 2012, 2014, will you increase taxes on yourselves so that we can catch up and keep up after that? And so that was the plan back then, and we're seeing that now. What we have is we're at a place where we're asking for a no tax increase bond issue. And so it's like, as David said, it's turf fields, it's continued renovations to our STEM middle school academy, increase ADA and safety and security throughout the district. I'm looking down at my sheet. Hopefully everyone has seen one of these. It outlines our bond plan. We've had these over the years, but this is a part of that plan that we started 10 years ago. And I'm happy to say that 10 years ago, we started with 174 trailers. It was the peak when I got on the Board of Education. And when we opened John Warner Middle School this summer for next school year, we will, that's hopefully because of COVID, it's going to get done on time. Oh, sorry, I see the stop, but we're going to be down to fewer than 20 trailers district-wide, and I'm very proud of that.
Great, thank you so much. And then now we'll go to Chris Horn, and just for the audience, I'll repeat the question in case people are coming in and out. What is your position on the school bond ballot issue, and with the economic stresses facing the state, how will Columbia School District adjust?
Thank you, Barbara, for repeating that. I support the bond issue. I mean, I think that where we are right now, with the financial strength that the district has, and the way that they've been good stewards of the budget with the 5-year forecasting and with the planning of the money that we have, I just think that further supports voting yes on that bond, and that we have a plan for the money that we're going to get. We had a plan in the past, and they've executed that well. And I don't think we have any reason to believe that we won't continue to be good stewards of the money that comes in and execute that well. And so definitely with COVID-19, I mean, expenses are going to change. It's happening to everybody. I work for a local business, or a business here in Columbia, and our expense models change, and so things happen. And the good thing about that is, if anybody hasn't heard Heather MacArthur speak, She gave a very, very comprehensive overview of the budget and the status of it at the board meeting on Monday. And, that gives me good confidence, that we're going to be okay. We're going to weather this storm from a financial standpoint. And so I support the bond. And I think that with what we've done thus far, and I think that we will be able to continue to do that and be fiscally responsible.
Thank you very much. And now we'll hear from Helen Wade.
Thank you, Barbara. So yes, I support the no tax increase bond issue. And I would ask for the support of all of those that are listening and invite questions to the extent that you have any with respect to this proposal that will be on your ballot on June 2nd. This is a $20 million no tax increase bond that will provide us with funding to continue to build additions, to deal with growth in Columbia Public Schools, to make renovations and ADA enhancements to our buildings, to enhance our athletic facilities, and to continue to maintain our existing facilities and to improve our safety and security. We are a district that has for a very long time engaged in long-term planning with respect to our financial resources, and have done so in part to put us in a position as a district where we are able to withstand the economic uncertainty that is facing us. Just on Monday evening, there was a very extensive and detailed financial update prepared by and presented by Heather MacArthur. And we learned, and the public learned, that there's already been a holdback with respect to transportation that decreases the budget for transporting our students from 2020 to 2021. Because of the long range planning and the extraordinary work of our CFO and her staff, we are in a position to deal with that. But the economic times that we're in are uncertain. We still need to make sure that we're taking care of those things that are essential and also maintaining all of the things that are important. We've got to be mindful of our circumstances and continue to be fiscally responsible.
Thank you very much. I think we will move to closing statements, so we have enough time to hear more about the bond issue from Dr. Peter Stiepelman. So with that, we'll go to closing arguments, or closing statements, not arguments. And Mr. Seaman, you will go first, and you will have 1 minute.
I want to say thank you, Barbara, for moderating. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. Hope everyone watching is safe at home, that you and your families are healthy and secure at your houses. We're going through a difficult time as a community and as a nation, but it is my firm belief that we will make it through this. We survived much worse: civil war, terrorist attacks. We're a resilient people. We will come through this together. When the school year starts next fall, because it will start, we will have choices to make. Where are we sending our kids? Are they going to school? Are they learning online? Those are some of the things that we're going to have to figure out, and we're going to have to figure them out together. Like I said, I hope everyone remains safe. Please continue to wear your mask. Continue to practice social distancing. And if you haven't already gotten an absentee ballot, please make sure you vote on June 2nd.
Thank you. And next, Helen Wade. You could take your closing statement.
Thank you very much, Barbara. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this, and to all of the 34 attendees that I can still see are in attendance, plus the one phone call and listener. It's lovely to see this kind of participation, particularly in this forum, this format rather. These are uncertain times. I don't have to tell anybody that. And in uncertain times, it is important to make sure that you adhere to your core principles and the values that we've established to be important. Columbia Public Schools is one. The way that we make sure that our education continues to be second to none for every kid, to make sure that we're meeting every kid where they are and delivering all of the services they need in a timely manner, is going to be a real challenge going forward. I believe we can do it. I know we can do it, and there isn't an option to not do it. I am absolutely committed to ensuring that every one of our kids is able to get through this, not just okay, but thrive. I ask for your vote on June 2nd, and I invite your questions after the forum, should you have any. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much. And now, Mr. Horn, you may make your closing statement.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, League of Women Voters, again for putting on this forum, giving us opportunity to speak. I want to say that I heard a great quote, and I'm not going to quote it. I'm just going to paraphrase it. We're in this storm together, but we're not all in the same boats. Some of us have gone through this storm in yachts. Some of us have gone through this storm in rowboats. Some of us are in the water without life jackets. And I think it's important for us to remember that what COVID-19 has done, it's affected everybody. And while we get through it in different ways, we all now have a barrier to get over while we try to get forward in life. And I think what's important to take away from this is there are a lot of people, particularly there are a lot of kids that are in our school district who were in storms already before this. Their storms got worse, and they're going to be in storms afterwards. And so, I want to represent and have a voice for all of our kids, and I want to make sure that we take advantage of this opportunity to think about kind of how we were affected, and think about how other people's lives are affected. And so I just pray, I hope that you guys will vote for me on June 2nd and give me an opportunity to serve our district and our community. And I thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you very much. And now we'll hear from Jonathan Sessions.
I'd like to thank the League for putting this on, Barbara for moderating, Carol and Sharon, thank you. I know you're in the background there for coordinating all of this and the technical part of it. This has been incredibly smooth. I'm very thankful the League was able to hold this forum, as many of the forums for the candidates got canceled. And so we haven't had a lot of opportunity to speak. So I truly appreciate an opportunity for all of us to share our thoughts and our feelings. I'm Jonathan Sessions. I didn't anticipate that COVID, I don't think, none of us anticipated that COVID was going to change our lives, or that just this was going to happen in the way that it had. And I don't think any of us running for the school board expected to be in this fashion. But what I'd like to think is that the district is doing an excellent job of responding. I'm proud that for the last 10 years, I've been a part of that system and put us in a stable place so that we're able to respond. And I'd be happy to serve another term on the Board of Education to help continue the work that I've done there. So I thank you all for attending, and I ask for your vote on June 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we'll move to Dr. Stiepelman. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Stiepelman. And we want to give you an opportunity. Whoops.
Don't worry, it's me. I'm messing with your screen, Barbara. Sorry.
I thought I lost you. Okay.
Nope.
We just want to give you an opportunity to explain and talk about the school bond ballot issue that will be on the ballot June 2nd, explaining how it works, what it will be used for, and why it's needed.
Thank you so much. And just to be clear, 5 minutes is sufficient? You give the superintendent time, he'll just keep going. So
I think we have, probably at least about 5 to 7.
Perfect, thank you. So what you see on your screen, well, actually, before I even begin, thank you so much for hosting this and for inviting me to be a part of it. And as you can see, you have 4 excellent candidates for school board. So every superintendent should be so lucky, and I mean that. The candidates mentioned Heather MacArthur a number of times. She's our CFO, and I think it merits making this announcement that we'll make more formal in the coming days. But the Association of School Business Officials International, which is called ASBO, has just awarded CPS with a Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting. And it's a highly coveted award that school districts look for. It is for financial reporting, it's for transparency, and it's a big deal for us. So it's a testament to the hard work that she's done and the hard work of Teresa Malidi, who is our chair of our finance committee, and the entire board. So when you hear the candidates talking about the fact that this is an urgent situation, but not a crisis, it has everything to do with the fact that we have a board and an administration that works very hard to make sure that the next 5 years are smooth when it comes to our fiscal and financial management. So tonight, you've given me the opportunity to talk a little bit about the bond. And on June 2nd, there is a bond question on the table for the community to consider, and it's a $20 million no tax increase bond. What you see on your screen is a question and answer that is available on our website at cpsk12.org/bond2020. And there are lots of questions about, how does this work and what are bonds for? And remember that bonds are for buildings. They can't be used for operations. And it is really essentially the community giving permission for the school district to be able to take on debt over a 20-year period and then pay it off. And so what you see on your screen now is our 10-year plan. And you heard Mr. Sessions referring to when he was the chair of the Long Range Facility Committee, that he really spearheaded this work in terms of creating a 10-year plan that would really lay out for the community so that we could make promises and that we could keep them. And that you could count on us that when we say we're going to do something, we're going to. And so in the past, as you heard mentioned, 174 trailers in the 2006-07 school year. That's more trailers than any other school district. We were #1 in trailers. And we want to be #1 in something, but it's not trailers. And so, and the fact that we'll be around 20 trailers left in the school district when the new middle school opens in August, and it will open, is a testament to that long range vision that the board had and that I got to be the beneficiary of. That started with Jim Ritter, it went on to Chris Belcher, and then I got to stand on their shoulders and be the beneficiary of a great vision. So what you see in front of you is in April of 2016, the community approved a $30 million no tax increase bond. And you'll notice that the money didn't become available for 2 years. So that's what that line, that row that says issue. And that was to buy land for the new middle school, to begin construction, to begin design work on Locust Street, which was in your district, Barbara, to be able to make sure that the Locust Street, formerly Lee, would have an arts integrated school, that the building would actually match its mission. And so it'll have a small theater inside and will really be reflective of what we're trying to do as a magnet arts integrated school. And so what you see in blue is what has been completed as promised. What you see in the salmon color is what is in progress. And then what is in sort of camel is what is being planned. So in 2018, the community approved a $30 million bond. It was a no tax increase bond. And that money didn't become available for a year after. And then we began the projects of building John Warner, doing the renovations at Locust, taking care of technology, safety and security. And now we're in the process of asking the community to the question of whether or not they would authorize a $20 million no tax increase bond. And what I point out here is that the money now becomes available almost immediately. And again, that speaks to the incredible talents of our CFO, who was able to renegotiate our debt and take advantage of the time period we're in, save the taxpayers $6.6 million over the life of these bonds, and be able to now give us the opportunity to begin almost immediately. And that will be for now, it's not about getting rid of trailers anymore. Now it's about, as you heard Mr. Sessions say, I like that, catching up versus keeping up. And so now it's about growth, it's about safety and security, and it's about accessibility. And when I say accessibility, it's probably the first time that we've really talked about that as a school district, because we've always been compliant when it comes to law, but we haven't always been accessible. And we had a board meeting earlier in the year where an individual in a wheelchair came to the board meeting and said some things that were hard to hear, but they were important to hear. And that was that the buildings that he has been trying to access are not accessible. And so we sat down and we talked, and we really said that we really needed to make a better plan as we move forward to make sure that our buildings are not just, that they are truly accessible and not just compliant. So you'll see here, Jefferson Middle School renovations. That's to make the building accessible, as well as to make good on the promise of adding a gymnasium at the school. There seems to be sort of this rite of passage that one is not considered a true Columbian unless they've fallen off the stage at Jeff Jr. We're going to make a change there and actually build a gymnasium, and as well as make sure that there's an elevator in the building to get to all floors. We're looking at adding an elementary school addition, either at Battle Elementary School or Russell Boulevard. You heard Mr. Seaman talking about high school activity field projects. We are constantly balancing and juggling the football team and the marching band and the soccer teams and the lacrosse clubs, and then community groups who are all trying and vying for our fields. And so this gives us the opportunity to turf the practice fields so that our community can use our buildings and our fields, as well as all the different activities. Technology infrastructure continues to be important. Safety and security continues to be important from our community standpoint. It used to be number 14 in terms of the most important thing 6 years ago, and now it's number 4. And then I would just point out just some highlights over the next few years so that the community knows that we really do have a 10-year plan. So in 2022, if the community approves a bond at that point, would allow us to begin planning for a new elementary school and then another new elementary school in 2024. We bought enough land for the new middle school that allows us to build an elementary school in there. We won't have to look for land. And then the last thing I'll point out, and then I will be quiet because I know that, you see, you let me just keep going and I'll just keep going. But that is, doing okay? Okay, good. So in 2026, we will ask the community to consider potentially for us to buy land and to begin designing our 5th high school. So we have 3 comprehensive high schools and Douglas High School, our alternative high school, which I like to call a boutique high school, led by Dr. Neville. And we are beginning to see that our enrollment will outpace our space. And so it is very possible that we're going to have to buy land and begin designing a new high school, which then construction would begin in 2028 with its opening in 2030, really making sure that this is a 10-year plan. Now, 10-year plans are just plans, right? We've rarely had to veer off of them. We decided to prioritize the new middle school, John Warner, before Locust Street, but that was the only thing. We just kind of switched when they would begin. And then lastly, this is something that we've never done before, and I think it's really important. Our realtors have really appreciated this, as well as parents, is that each time that a project will then open, that often influences or impacts attendance areas. And so these levers at the bottom of your screen really demonstrate and show when those attendance areas would take effect, so that families can be thinking into the future about what the attendance areas and what the bond might mean in terms of projects. So it's a $20 million no tax increase bond. I'm pleased to hear that the candidates support, as you know, I'm not allowed to tell you how to vote, so they can tell you how they'd like you to vote, but I can certainly encourage everyone to come out and vote on June 2nd.
Oh, thank you very much. I just want to conclude by thanking the candidates and Dr. Stiepelman for coming to the forum. I think it was extremely informative. I want to let everyone know that this is recorded and it will be on the League Facebook site and the League website, and people can link into it. So we expect to broadcast it to a larger audience. I want to thank Sharon Schneeberger and Carol Sheberg for their work in making this Zoom possible and working on the format. And I want to just remind everyone, the election is June 2nd. And again, if you want an absentee ballot, you need to request that by 5 p.m. May 20th. And if your reason is because of concern about illness and COVID-19, you will not have to have your ballot notarized. So thank you again, and everyone, please stay informed and please vote. Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.